The Indiana Pacers were in probably the worst position you can be as a front office, where your star player, Paul George, says, "I want out. I'm not coming back after this season," and all the rumors are circulating that he's going to end up on the Los Angeles Lakers. And I understand that in a situation like this, you're never going to get equal value back for your star player, or even 90 cents or 80 cents on the dollar, and perhaps even less than that. But even with that, I have to ask, did Indiana not get robbed in this Paul George trade? Well, let's talk about what would you ideally want if you were going to move a guy like PG. To me, what I would take is probably one player who can help me out right now, who may or may not still have some potential. But really what I would want is draft picks. I would want multiple picks that I can feel good about moving for the future, where I can use some of those picks on actual young players who I feel good about in the NBA draft, but I could potentially move those picks as well. And then all the rumors were out there that the Boston Celtics were involved in a trade with Paul George that would have sent 3 non-Brooklyn picks to Indiana. Probably would have been the Celtics 2018 pick, a lottery-protected Clippers pick, and then a protected Memphis pick, which quietly could end up like in the top 10 given Memphis's age. So if I was Indiana, I definitely would have taken that move, because that sets you up very well for the future with 3 picks, but also apparently Jay Crowder and Avery Bradley would have been in the trade as well. I mean, Crowder's on a very good contract, and if anything, Avery Bradley could have been a trade piece. I think that would have been a nice return for Paul George. Now, the rumors are conflicted about whether that was actually offered in a move or not. If it was, Indiana definitely should have taken it. If it was not, then maybe they just went with the best offer they could possibly get for Paul George, and that offer centers around Victor Oladipo, a 6'4" shooting guard who just finished his 4th NBA season, and Indiana's banking on this guy really filling out his potential. Here's the thing though, I have some concerns about Oladipo, how good of a player he ultimately is. That does not mean he doesn't do certain things well. He's a good defensive player. I feel like he's gotten a reputation sometimes of being like this lockdown defender. I would not say he's that good, but he's still a quality guy for you. I mean, OKC was a very good defensive team this previous season, and I would say he definitely helped that. He didn't hurt their defense. Offensively, he's never been that efficient. He's never shot above 45% from the field. This season, he managed to get to 36% from 3. I would not say that Oladipo is a natural scorer, and I have some concerns if he's not already hit his offensive limit, averaging about 15-16 points a game. Now, as far as his passing is concerned, he has averaged nearly 5 assists multiple times with the Orlando Magic. Of course, when you go to the Thunder and you're playing next to Russell Westbrook, the ball is not going to be in your hands as much, which is why his assists were down. I think in Indiana, him having the ball more often, you could see his playmaking improve. We did see some flashes of this when Russell Westbrook would be on the bench. Oladipo oftentimes would be running the offense himself. He definitely has capabilities of like making plays for others. The thing is, I don't think he's perfect in that role. I could never see him getting to like 6 or 7 assists a game, but a solid 4 or 5 is good. But that's kind of my thing with Oladipo. I see a good overall player. This was your prime return for Paul George. And Oladipo's also making $21 million a season for the next few years. So he's actually getting paid more than Paul George, and I would say, I mean, we would all agree he's not as good as him, and I don't know if he could ever get to a level that's even close to where Paul George is right now. When it comes to creating his own shot, he's cool. He oftentimes needs a pick and roll or just simply a screen so he can pull up for a three-pointer like he does here. I don't think he has much abilities of going one-on-one that often, which is another reason why I would say I just don't think his scoring potential is that high. He's an athlete, but I would also say he doesn't have the burst athleticism with the ball in his hands that often. An example of that would be right here. I mean, most guys can get by Ryan Anderson easily because Anderson is one of the worst as well as slowest defensive big guys in the NBA moving laterally. But what happens when Oladipo is in this situation? He is forced to just take the ball out. It's these kind of things that worry me about how good Oladipo can really be. A good player nonetheless, but I think you see what I'm getting at. The other one is Domantas Sabonis, a power forward who just had a up and down rookie season, I would say. He started out of the gates being a lights out 3-point shooter, and it seemed like he was NBA ready right away to be a floor spacer for Oklahoma City, and that was just gonna be his thing. But then as the season went along, not only did his 3-point percentage decrease, but his attempts did as well. Of course, part of that is just because he played less minutes, but at one point it seemed like you were going to be able to carve out exactly what type of player he was going to be, and then as the season went along, you don't really have a clue. He can't finish well at the rim, he's okay from 3, his mid-range is good, but I think Sabonis just doesn't have a distinct ability right now. I would say, I look at him and maybe he's Ersan Ilyasova. Just a 3-point shooter and a floor spacer who can sometimes do some things off the ball. I think he needs a great playmaker with him, because I don't know if he's ever going to be able to create his own shot. He doesn't get to the free throw line pretty much at all. And that was your return for Paul George. You know, Oladipo, I like him, but I fear that he's already kind of close to his ceiling. Sabonis, I mean, he's okay. And then you have no future draft picks from this trade. You also increased your salary. So, I mean, did Indiana really set themselves up to flourish in the future from this Paul George move? I mean, once again, I understand that you were not going to get like perfect value back for the guy because of his situation and wanting to leave. But this was really it. You're not going to tell me any other team wasn't offering you some draft pick that looked good or multiple draft picks that looked good, as well as just guys who might have not been as good as Oladipo, but they had better contracts. I don't know, man. I think now they're banking on Oladipo going to another level, Sabonis doing the same, and then Miles Turner just being a beast. We're just going to have to see what happens.